Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the new Dragon Bride Senya. I am also going to be talking about the update, patch preview that they've also announced, because it's not just Dragon Bride Senya and Brigitte that they've shown. But I do just want to make a disclaimer that I will make a separate video on Brigitte. However, she's not been shown yet. She's coming out, or she's being revealed at 9 a.m. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, as you can see, here are Dragon Bride Senya's stats. She has the stats of a light knight Sagittarius, which is pretty good, especially as you'll see what she actually ends up doing later. She has really high HP, she has really high defense, and her speed is not bad. That being said, she doesn't have crit chance or crit damage imprints or anything, or, enhancements, which makes sense, and you'll see why in a second. But interesting to note as well, there is no effectiveness and there is no effect resistance, so this is a pure, pretty tank scaling kind of Senya. And again, that is going to be really good, because as we get into her skill introduction, the first thing that she has is that her skill 2 increases her max HP by 10%. So she already has a pretty high base for HP, and this only accentuates that. Furthermore, what the skill 2 reads is that when the health of the ally in the back row, except for the caster, is 50% or less after being attacked, you dispel all the debuffs from the caster and the ally in the back row, and then gives or activates Bridal Prayer, but it can only be activated once every 4 turns. Bridal Prayer is really cool because although it only I should describe. So the reason why Bridal Prayer is really cool is because it gives the caster and the ally both barrier. However, Oath of Punishment is given to the caster, not the backline character. But the reason why Oath of Punishment is really cool is because, number one, it increases, or it gives you 25 fixed damage to the caster's next attack. However, why this is so important is because when you have Bride's Resolve, or when you have Oath of Punishment, actually, your skill 3 here changes to now penetrating, becoming AoE, and her skill 3 is already an AoE defense penetration that cannot crit. That's a lot to take in to kind of absorb and understand. Long story short, when she has Oath of Punishment, her S3 becomes AoE, and it is a pretty sizable nuke. Now, the other thing that's really significant about the S3 is that it is it scales specifically also off of max HP. Apologies, there's a lot to kind of process here, but it's a big AoE nuke on her skill 3, and again, because it is a big AoE nuke that scales off of HP, it kind of feels akin to Last Rider Krau's skill 3. However, you have to remember that you also gain 2,500 fixed damage to all targets being hit. Now, again, like I mentioned, not only is this important because it does a lot of damage, but it also provides you 30% combat readiness push to both you and the caster to the caster and the character in the backline. When you see it, it's a lot easier to kind of visualize, and I apologize for skipping it, but just look at how much damage the skill 3 does, because this is kind of the crux of what I'm trying to showcase for being crazy here. So again, this is the Senya, and the skin, or the animations of it, looks incredible, looks very nice. It's got like this whole title thing, but look at that. You can't really see it, so I'll move my camera so you can see that. But that is 13,000 damage done by specifically the Senya here. Now, again, to be clear, as far as I could tell, there is no 3F proc. Oh, I guess, yeah, there is no 3F proc. I was curious if they would run something like 3F on this character, but they kind of came out the door swinging, because obviously, ML Senya here and her big S3 is a perfect candidate for 3F, because like I mentioned before, this looks like a character who can run something like 3F, obviously because she is really high HP scaling, but also because of her I want to protect the backline character feature, you could also maybe run something like Aureus. Now, again, I do think that her having the barrier in the backline does maybe insinuate that she'll be using something like Aureus, but just keep in mind that also, if you just want to one-shot something like Navy Captain Landy, you have a character here that literally has 37,000 HP, I believe. Let me, that says 37,099 HP, which means that she's all HP scaling. But again, you could literally just run something like Aureus or 3F, whatever you want to run, and do literally, I don't know, 13,000 damage to one of the most popular DPS in the game. That's kind of crazy. And you can also soul burn to increase the damage of the skill 3 as well. I just want to make sure. Oh, this is on Symbol of Unity, or sorry, the equivalent, Portrait of the Savior, which does do pretty good damage. But I do think at that point you could probably argue that running something like 3F is pretty cool. But I don't think they actually soul burn this skill 3. So that means that you could do even more damage in totality. And then you have the skill 1, which is kind of nice and is even more reminiscent of Last Rider Crow. It gives you a speed buff after you do your skill 1. So they kind of made ML Senya a Last Rider Crow baby version, or an updated version of Last Rider Crow. Instead of Last Rider Crow's passive of mitigating AoE damage or giving a barrier after you have AoE damage done to you, now Senya kind of has Trozette-ish passive, which is interesting and still pretty good nonetheless. And cleansing is also really impactful because, again, if you are someone that can almost get one shot, or if you want to prevent someone in the backline from taking too much lethal damage, you could maybe put someone like, I don't know, Cannaaaa, so you get a barrier and you can't get like procced or something by Politis S2 against Cannaaaa. Who knows? The possibilities are endless, but I just kind of wanted to show off how crazy the damage from Senya is. And I guess if you want to take a look at the passive, here's the preview, or the animations, I guess.
Like I promised, I'll stand by your side until death do us part.
Sorry. Okay. Anyways, I maybe should have started off with that, but it looked great. I think the animations look great. I think ML Senya looks absolutely bonkers. A flat out ridiculous character, to be sure. But now I do want to talk about the rest of the PvP update because, or I guess the rest of the update because, spoilers, there is actually a PvP update that they announced. So we do have the Senya here. That's cool. Brigitte also here. She has a new artifact, of course, as all new characters have, but she is a water Soul Weaver. The first time we've gotten a Soul Weaver in a while, actually, since I think Ocean Breeze Luluka for an RGB. And then if you scroll along, we have the buffs and stuff. But actually, the biggest thing, number one, is that we get Ancient Inheritance Season 9 starting on the 13th. And now there's World Arena Protection. Now, I don't know exactly how impactful this is going to be, but just speaking from what people have mentioned right now, it feels a little bit weird. I don't know if it's super, I don't know how much people are, or I don't know how excited people are feeling about this third pick here, but you'll also notice, if I move my camera again, that actually there are also 3 bands at the bottom. Now, okay, to be clear, they could just be insinuating, and this could just be draft mode, or round mode. I assume this is round mode, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that, again, we had the bans. I'm assuming, and again, it's very likely that they just, they didn't do this. Just forget I even said it, honestly, because now the more and more I think about it, they even have like the bands in the back, like the extra bands. It's probably not that. However, talking about the World Arena band protection, I do think that it is very interesting to leave the third slot kind of open. Now, for a lot of you guys, maybe you do or don't care about RTA. That's totally fine. However, third pick is something that's very interesting because sometimes it feels like third pick is the turning point of your draft. If you hear people talk about the importance or how good a character is, they'll probably insinuate where you can pick them or when you can pick them in the draft. And usually what happens is that if someone says something like, oh, they are first pickable, or if they are early pickable in the 1, 2, 3 slot, they are quite good. They are impactful. They are meta changing. They are composition defining. However, if they are 4th or 5th pick slotted, I guess, they are much less impactful and they feel less important because there are plenty of characters that you can pick on 4 or 5, and if the enemy just respects you or just bans out one of those characters, it doesn't really feel like they are doing something crazy. It just feels like they are respecting your last pick and that they drafted their first set of units to ban out your last unit, and it's just like they just didn't want to deal with whatever your 5th pick was. They don't want to deal with the confusion of it. Therefore, the pick is not so much as important as they just don't want to deal with whatever the random RNG of your 5th pick is. To basically summarize here, I think that the 3rd pick, safeguard slot, is very, very, very significant because again, now this kind of changes up the dynamic of RTA in a really big way. I don't know right now how this will feel, especially in the lower ranks. However, again, in the Emperor and Champion and above kind of position, I think that not being able to ban one slot is really, really impactful because if you're a cleaver, you probably will be really annoyed if someone picks something like, I don't know, an Aiden or a Sage Ball, an Ed, whatever, especially if you're trying to play one specific style. And if you are someone that is slower or if you are an aggro player, it probably won't be nice if someone ends up picking something that you can't ban, like I don't know, an ML Politis or a Conqueror Lilius. Sometimes you do want to pick counters, of course, to these in the later parts of the draft, but just having a character that you have no choice of banning, no matter what, feels really, really, really impactful. But of course, it does add another layer of complexity and strategy to the game, which I think is pretty cool. But we'll have to see how it pans out and how it works. It is something that they kind of moved around, and even if it doesn't end up being cool or being good, I'm kind of happy that they're doing this, at least in the preseason, so things end up being a little bit interesting. Again, if they did this at a different time, would be maybe a little bit more concerning. Maybe at the end of the season, it would have been absolutely terrible. But also, we have the drop rate up banner, guys. We have Rowana in Taiwan on 5.9, which is kind of nice because a lot of people like ML Rowana right now, with a composition that involves her being triple torrent. There's also Brigitte and Ervelyn, who are double bannering or double heading a banner on 5.16. So you will be able to see this character on 5.16. And then furthermore, ML Senya is coming on the 23rd, which is really cool. And that's basically all that we saw from the update. In any case, though, guys, I will be releasing my thoughts on Brigitte later. But as it is right now, very cool, very interesting. I love the way that Dragon Bride Senya looks. She honestly has a much more crazy looking kit compared to some of the other knights in the game. So I'm very happy. I think that her being mitigation is kind of funny. I'm curious to see how much damage 3F will do because, again, they literally showed her at 37,000 HP. In any case, though, guys, thanks again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. Make sure to check out my second channel that I've been showing as well. It's called More Canna, and you can check that out as well if you want to find out more information or see more about EpicSeven and other gacha games and stuff like that. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Good night.